All right, good morning. Welcome to Church Without Religion. So this morning I've titled this message, This is God's Will. And God's will is such a paralyzing thing for people sometimes. I'll never forget when I was this high, I first heard the idea of being in God's will, getting in God's will, and then after you're in God's will, staying in God's will. And that to me was a paralyzing thing. I mean, I was freaked out about, am I going to choose the right job? Am I going to choose the right car? Am I going to choose the right house? Am I going to choose the right spouse? Am I going to choose the right life? Or am I going to somehow miss it? So I serve as the lead pastor of Church Without Religion. Yeah, I met Catherine at Graduate InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. It's a graduate group at University of Illinois, and we were both looking for Christian friends. She was one of the organizers of the events there, and she was also the greeter.
One of my jobs was to organize the speakers. The other was to greet people. Andrew was new. I greeted him. Andrew's really smart. Anybody who has a PhD in applied linguistics, anybody who was an endowed chair at the University of Notre Dame at the age of 27 has to be pretty smart. He's also a committed Christian. He also believes very strongly in the role and the importance of God in our lives. This is a fake cheese, not the real cheese.
Okay, good to know. Catherine is obviously super intelligent. She's very capable. She's a very strong intellectual person. But what drew me to her was really her humility and her deep care for other people, finding friends, connecting with them. And I noticed that. I noticed that she really cared for people. So when I met Catherine, she was an atmospheric scientist doing models of the Earth's atmosphere and making predictions. And I had really assumed that there was no validity to any of that.
When we met, I think that we thought we had more in common than we did. Coming from Canada, I had never met anybody who didn't think climate change was real. Andrew had never met somebody who shared his faith who did think that climate change was real. He came very much from the South. He grew up in a community that didn't think that climate was changing, and if it was, it certainly wasn't because of humans.
So I started asking her questions. I asked her tough questions. I asked her, isn't this a natural trend? Isn't this just a cycle? And I launched at her this pile of information that I thought was right.
But the watershed moment probably was when the tide turned and he downloaded the temperature data from NASA. And he put it into Excel on his own computer and he plotted it. Either NASA, who put men on the moon, was involved in this worldwide conspiracy to fake this issue, or it really was true.
So in the first years of our marriage, I changed my mind about climate change.
Our planet has this amazing natural blanket. It's made up of carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor. The sun's energy shines down and goes right through that blanket as if it were a window. It hits the earth and the earth warms up. The earth gives off heat energy. But just like a blanket traps our body heat on a cold night, in the same way this amazing natural blanket of heat-trapping gases traps the earth's heat, keeping our planet almost 60 degrees Fahrenheit, about 30 degrees Celsius warmer than it would be otherwise. Well, if this blanket is natural, what's the problem? The problem is that we are adding more and more carbon dioxide and methane, and even water vapor, because in a warmer atmosphere, more water evaporates. We're adding more of these heat-trapping gases to the atmosphere. And we are, in essence, wrapping an extra blanket around our planet, a blanket that it did not need. What would happen if you were sleeping at night and somebody snuck in, like my grandma used to do, and put an extra blanket over you? You'd start to sweat because you didn't need that blanket. That's what's happening to our planet. Our planet is running a fever that is a direct result of this extra blanket that we are wrapping around our planet.
I think I had to come to the place where I recognized that, look, a thermometer is not Republican, a thermometer is not Democrat. a thermometer is not red or blue, it's really a green issue. Is the world heating up? Well, all the data tells us it is. It doesn't matter your political background, your religious persuasion, facts are facts. And I think that, I had to realize that and, take my head out of the sand and start to ponder the reality of climate change.